This is the listening section. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 10. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 7. Part 1, you will hear a conversation between travel agent and customer.
Hi sir, you gave a call regarding the booking of yours to Austria.
Yes, please.
Travel agent. Sir, I would like to tell you that we have recently prepared an amazing package for that.
Could you please tell me the details of that package?
Sure sir. In that package, you will get 4 nights and 3 days. Breakfast for 3 days is complimentary in this, and the complete package is for $1,500.
That's great!
So, sir, when are you planning to go?
As you know, I was planning earlier but couldn't go due to a reason, but now as you have an amazing package and I am also free, so I'm planning to go within this week only.
That's perfectly okay, sir.
This package is valid till when?
For a month.
Great! What are all formalities needed to be done?
Travel agent. Sir, for booking this package you have to pay an advance of $500 with a copy of your ID proof and photograph.
Sure, no problem. How can I make the payment?
You can pay by card, cash or check.
But for that, I need to visit your office. Is it possible that I can pay online and email you my details?
Sure sir, you can do that as well.
Just send me your account details and your email.
Okay.
Before you hear the rest, you have some time to check your answers. Listen to a topic on air pollution and answer questions 8 to 10.
Air pollution is a serious issue that refers to the release of harmful contaminants into the atmosphere. These contaminants can include chemicals, toxic gases, particulates, and biological molecules, which can have a detrimental impact on human health and the environment. Some of the main causes of air pollution include burning fossil fuels, mining operations, and exhaust gases from industries and factories. The effects of air pollution can vary depending on the type of pollutant, but they can include increased risk of respiratory illness and cardiovascular problems, increased risk of skin diseases, and even an increased risk of cancer. Additionally, air pollution can contribute to global warming, acid rain, ozone depletion, and hazards to wildlife. Among all types of pollution, air pollution is believed to have planet-wide implications, and some scientists have even speculated that if left unchecked, it could lead to an extreme form of global warming known as the runaway greenhouse effect. This is purely speculative, however, it is a phenomenon that has been observed on Venus. This is the end of this part. You have some time to check your answers.
This is the end of this part. You have some time to check your answers. Part 2. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 20. Listen to a topic on cars. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 20.
Do you think of cars as a necessity? If so, you're not alone. In the most recent Pew Luxury versus Necessity survey, 86% of Americans said that their automobile was indispensable. That's an awful lot of people. In fact, cars are rated as more necessary than pretty much any other consumer good that Pew considered. And yet, as the chart to the right shows, 86% is also the lowest rate since the question was first asked, in 1973. And on the flip side, Pew finds that more people than ever consider the car to be simply a luxury. This PDF has the complete data series. Although I think it's probably a bad idea to read too much into these trends, it's also risky to ignore them. On the one hand, just about everything rates as less necessary now than it did in 2006, when the economy was riding high. In fact, the perception that cars are necessary fell a lot less than for most other old-school consumer goods, like microwaves and air conditioners. Compared to the TV, the car's status as a perceived necessity keeps barreling along on cruise control. On the other hand, we may be seeing the effects of generational changes in attitudes towards the car. Despite the still shaky economy, a few high-tech goods, cell phones, high-speed internet, have become more necessary since 2006, particularly among young people. But some of the items that have been hardest hit, including TVs and landline phones, are dropping like a stone, mostly because of generational shifts. Young people increasingly prefer cell phones to landlines, and the internet to TV. Meanwhile, there's other evidence that younger people are driving a lot less than they used to. The Pew study doesn't break down the trends by age group. But given the other data out there on generational shifts in attitudes towards driving, I wouldn't be surprised if the drop-off in the perceived necessity of cars has been particularly steep among younger folks. Then again, with unemployment rates as high as they are among younger folks, it may be little surprise that cars don't seem particularly necessary. Of course, it's perfectly fair to interpret the Pew results as showing that cars are still seen as one of the most necessary of modern conveniences. The only thing that was close was the washing machine, though Pew stopped asking that question in 2006. Given how slowly the car trends are moving, most Americans will continue to view the automobile as an essential for quite some time. But as we're trying to figure out what kinds of public investments to make for the future, the rise in the perceived necessity of high-tech products and fast internet connections, coupled with the decline in the necessity of cars, may offer some hints about which way the wind is blowing.
This is the end of this part. You have some time to check your answers.
Are you ready to order, sir?
Yes, I'll have the beef stew for starters, and my wife would like tomato soup.
1 beef stew and 1 tomato soup. What would you like for the main course?
I'll have the cayenne pepper steak, and my wife would like the fried trout with mashed potatoes.
I'm afraid the trout is off.
Oh dear. What else do you recommend?
The sole is very good.
OK, I'll have that. Do you have any coleslaw?
No, I'm sorry, we don't.
Just give me a small mixed salad then.
The same for me.
Certainly. Would you like something to drink?
Yes, please. May I see the wine list?
Certainly. Here you are.
A bottle of Chablis 99, please.
Excellent choice.
First, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen carefully and answer questions 26 to 30.
Climate change refers to the long-term changes in the Earth's climate, specifically the increase in global temperatures and its effects on the planet. The main cause of climate change is human activity, specifically the burning of fossil fuels, such as coal, oil, and natural gas, which releases large amounts of greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide and methane, into the atmosphere. These gases trap heat from the sun, warming the Earth's surface and causing the climate to change. The effects of climate change are widespread and varied. One of the most significant effects is an increase in global temperatures, which can lead to more extreme weather events such as heat waves, droughts, and storms. This can have a negative impact on agriculture, causing crop failures and food shortages. It can also lead to sea level rise, which can flood coastal areas and displace millions of people. Climate change also has a major impact on biodiversity. As temperatures rise, species are forced to adapt to new conditions or migrate to cooler areas. However, many species are unable to adapt quickly enough, and their populations decline. This can disrupt entire ecosystems, with knock-on effects on the animals and plants that depend on them. Another impact of climate change is on the ocean. The ocean absorbs a large amount of the carbon dioxide that is released into the atmosphere, causing it to acidify. This can have a negative impact on marine life, especially on creatures with shells, such as coral and shellfish. It can also disrupt entire ocean ecosystems, with knock-on effects on the animals and plants that depend on them. Climate change also has significant economic and social impacts. As the climate changes, it can cause extreme weather events that can damage infrastructure and disrupt businesses. It can also lead to increased costs for things like cooling, heating, and crop production. Furthermore, as sea levels rise, it can displace people from their homes, leading to social and economic disruption. The good news is that there are many things that can be done to address climate change. One of the most effective ways is to reduce the amount of greenhouse gases that are released into the atmosphere. This can be done by increasing the use of renewable energy sources such as solar and wind power and reducing the use of fossil fuels. Additionally, increasing energy efficiency and reducing deforestation can also help. Another important way to address climate change is through carbon sequestration. This is the process of removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and storing it in a safe and secure location. This can be done through things like reforestation, afforestation, and carbon capture and storage technologies. Finally, it is important to adapt to the changes that are already happening due to climate change. This can include building seawalls to protect against sea level rise, developing drought-resistant crops, and improving early warning systems for extreme weather events. In conclusion, climate change is a serious issue that is caused by human activity and is affecting the planet in many ways. It is important to take immediate actions to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and adapt to the changes that are already happening. By taking these actions, we can work to limit the impact of climate change and help ensure a sustainable future for the planet.
This is the end of this part. You have some time to check your answers. Part 4. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. You will hear a study given on history of railways. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
The first industrial railways. Long ago, long before Belgium had a railway, people's mobility depended on the power of their own 2 feet. Those who were wealthy could afford a horse and carriage or traveled by stagecoach. As from the 16th century, tow barges, pulled by a horse from the tow path, were used as the first form of public transport. These traveled at only 3 to 4 kilometers per hour, but were very punctual. The skipper stuck to a schedule and did not wait for latecomers. The oldest tow barge service known in Belgium dates back to 1618 and traveled between Brussels and Antwerp. Until the invention of the iron track, this was the most comfortable and reliable form of transport between towns and villages located along waterways. The train caused a revolution in terms of speed and capacity. In the 19th century, steam engines reached the incredible speed of 60 kilometers per hour. The 2 most important components in the railway, the track and the locomotive, were developed during the Industrial Revolution, 1750 to 1840. The first railway line in the world dates back to 1825. When George Stephenson connected the towns of Stockton and Darlington in England by rail. The line was intended to transport coal. The wagons were pulled by steam engines. Passengers were transported by horse-drawn carriages. The first railway lines in France, Saint-Étienne to Androsier and Saint-Étienne to Lyon, were industrial railways as well. A real railway with a regular service for passenger transport did not appear until 1830. In that year the first railway line between Manchester and Liverpool was opened. This double track was exclusively for steam locomotives. Not a canal but a railway line. In 1821, the Englishman Thomas Gray, who was an ardent railway fan, launched a request to King William I of the Netherlands. He proposed to create a railway rather than a canal for the transport of coal between Charleroi and Brussels. His petition was ignored. At the beginning of 1830, the British industrialist, John Cockerill, stated that a number of capitalists are of the opinion that it would be extremely useful to lay railway tracks between Antwerp and Brussels like those from Liverpool to Manchester. Cockerill saw the railway line as a huge potential customer for iron. When Belgium became independent in October 1830, the provisional government soon faced economic issues. Trade between Antwerp and the Rhineland was done along the Dutch waterways. Once the country became independent, this passage was no longer guaranteed. A cross-country connection was urgently required. For example, by canal, the one started by Napoleon known as Noordervaart, from Antwerp via Herentals, Weert and Venlo to Neuss on the Rhine. However, work had stopped on this canal in 1811 due to conflicting interests with Dutch engineers from Waterstaat. Besides the Noordervaart, another suggestion was for a railway, similar to the one from Manchester to Liverpool. King in favor of the railway. The idea of an iron track was launched and, for the next 5 years, became an important element in establishing and developing the new kingdom. King Leopold I, who had experienced the development of the railway in England, was a great fan of the railway. On August 24, 1831, the Minister of Internal Affairs instructed Pierre Simons and Gustave de Ridder, 2 young engineers at Belgium's Highways Department, to make plans for a railway between Antwerp and the Rhine. They traveled to England, the birthplace of the railway. Back in Belgium, they developed a number of proposals. The routes of the Belgian railway network. The final layout went from Antwerp via Mechelen, Leuven, Tienen, Liege, Verviers, Aachen and Duren to Cologne. A distance of 248 kilometers. A branch line was planned from Mechelen towards the capital. This aimed to provide additional passenger and goods transport. Simons and de Ridder were very keen on construction by the state. Referring to England and France, they pointed out that, with a system of concessions, the state would not share in the profits, but would be responsible for any losses. Train lift between ANS and Liege. Obstruction ahead. Between the plateau at Hesbaye and the Meuse Valley, the railway was required to bridge a height difference of 110 meters over a distance of about 5 kilometers, and do so at a time when locomotives had too little adhesion weight and insufficient braking power to tackle such a slope. The solution proposed was a train lift, operated by a fixed steam engine. Simons and de Ridder contracted the work to Henri Maus, an engineer from Liege. The distance between the highest and lowest points was divided into 2 almost equal parts with a horizontal plane in between. Each slope was served by a fixed steam engine with a capacity of 80 HP, installed on the horizontal plane. Using a cable, the steam engine was able to lift or lower a train with 12 carriages in less than 7 minutes. Attention and patriotism. The green light for the railway, however, had yet to be given. On June 9, 1833, Leopold I called a meeting of Parliament to dedicate its attention and patriotism to the project connecting the sea and the river Scheldt with the Meuse and the Rhine. 10 days later, Minister Rogier submitted a draft bill concerning a loan for the state's installation of a first section of iron tracks from Mechelen to Verviers via Liege, with branch lines to Brussels, Antwerp and Ostend. On March 11, 1834, discussions began on the draft bill in the chamber. No less than 17 stormy sittings, tensions ran high, were required to reach a decision. Some members feared that the coming of the railway would disrupt daily life, causing skippers on inland waterways, postmasters and horse owners to lose their livelihood and rebel. The milk will turn into buttermilk. Reference was made to October 1830, when angry workers destroyed the industrial railway at the coal mine in Grand Horn near Mons. They were upset by worried wagoners, who had become partly unemployed. The arrival of the railway had sent the number of horses from 160 down to 24. Declarations by the people's representatives P. Eloy de Berdien and de Robalx captured the imagination even more. The MP declared that milk transported by rail would arrive as buttermilk. To which his colleague added, "The eggs will arrive as omelets." There was also fierce opposition from Hainaut. People in this region feared competition from the mines in Liege. Discussions continued on canals versus railways, and concessions versus implementation by the state and whether such a large loan was a good idea. On March 28, 1834, a vote was taken in the chamber, 56 for and 28 against the railway. The Senate voted on April 30, 32 for, 8 against. On May 1, 1834, King Leopold I signed the law supporting the creation of the Belgian railways. From then on everything moved fast.
This is the end of listening section. You will have 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet.